At the time of making this video, the Boston Celtics have beaten the Dallas Mavericks to win the 2024 NBA championship. While it would have been the Mavericks' second championship all time, the Celtics were looking to add to their collection of championship trophies. They have only 18 championships to be exact. In this new video series I want to cover the various teams that have had a history of going on championship runs throughout the history of professional North American sports. And for the inaugural video in this series, I will be covering the Boston Celtics. Note, this will not be an entire history of the Boston Celtics franchise. However, it will be a brief overview of the Boston Celtics 18 championships. The Celtics' first championship was more than 67 years ago in 1957, where they went 4-3 in a series against the St. Louis Hawks. In that 7-game series, the 7th game went into double overtime. It's the only Game 7 in NBA history that needed 2 overtimes to determine the champion. Bob Cousy was the NBA Finals MVP before such a thing even existed. For these next few championships, if I do happen to mention an NBA Finals MVP, it's the collective determination of multiple experts that have had the advantage of hindsight who have made that decision as to who is the Finals MVP for these early NBA championship contests. Other members of this championship squad include Jim Luskadov, Frank Ramsey, Bill Sharman, and rookies like Tommy Heinsohn and Bill Russell. 2 years later, in 1959, the Celtics championship run went a lot smoother for them. They blanked the Minneapolis Lakers, going 4-0 in the championship series. This championship victory would start an 8-year championship dynasty run. It would be the franchise's first championship victory against what would become their eventual main rival, the Lakers. The Celtics would win back-to-back championships for the first time in their history in 1960, when they would once again beat the St. Louis Hawks in a 4-3 game series. Their victory in 1960 would start a whole decade of dominance that would define the 1960s. This NBA Finals was the last finals played in March. This YouTuber happened to post a video that offers a great insight into the 1960s Boston Celtics. So if you're more interested in that era, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if you were, go ahead and check that video out. Now, on to the next part of the video. The Celtics would three-peat in 1961 with a 4-1 beatdown of the St. Louis Hawks. Yes, the Celtics would have the Hawks and Lakers numbers. It would be the 4th time in 5 years that both the Celtics and Hawks would face each other in the NBA Finals. 1962 would be the final year that Celtics fans would be graced with the sight of Bill Sharman. However, the Celtics are the type of team to reload, not rebuild, and they did just that with Tom "Satch" Sanders, another instrumental player in the development of the Celtics dynasty. Boston would become the only team in NBA history to win 4 consecutive championships. They would achieve this feat in 1962, taking Game 7 from the LA Lakers after a 4-3 series. Coincidentally, this Game 7 would be the only other Game 7 to reach overtime. In 1963, the Celtics would once again win it all with a 4-2 series win versus the LA Lakers. On this Celtics squad, Bob Cousy would retire but would be replaced by John Havlicek. The following year, in 1964, the Celtics traveled west again to defeat the San Francisco Warriors in a 4-1 series. Jim Luskoff and Frank Ramsey would also see their final season with the Celtics come to an exciting end. The only thing that would change for the Boston Celtics in 1965 is who they would defeat in the finals, going 4-1 against the LA Lakers. The Lakers and Celtics would dominate their respective conferences for the next 4 years. Tommy Heinsohn would retire after this season. In 1966, my mother was born, but it's also the year the Celtics would win their 9th title, going 4-3 in the finals against the LA Lakers. Don Nelson was a crucial part of this Celtics championship team. This fact was even more painful for the Lakers considering Don played with the Lakers during the previous season. The saying, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em, was really applicable here. Casey Jones would retire after the season after having an illustrious career as a player. Red Auerbach would also retire after this season after coaching the Celtics during their legendary title runs. But don't worry, he would still work with the Celtics as an executive within the organization. The Celtics' impressive finals winning streak would come to an end in 1967. However, in the following year, the 1968 Celtics team would go 4-2 against the LA Lakers. By the way, Game 6 would be the first NBA game to be played in the month of May. In the final year of the decade in 1969, the Celtics completed their 4 final sweep of the LA Lakers, going all 7 games to beat LA in Game 7. Boston would become the first team to win Game 7 on the road in NBA history. Bill Russell would retire after this game with a whopping 11 championships, the most out of any player in NBA history. Sam Jones would retire after the season, but not before winning 10 titles. Satch Sanders would also retire with only a measly 8 championships under his belt. The NBA would also create the MVP Finals Award, which would also be named after Bill Russell. Now, the Celtics will not achieve the type of success they achieved during the 60s in the coming decades. However, in these following decades, they would continue to win championships. In the 1970s, 1974 to be precise, like a bully stealing candy from their baby sibling, the Celtics would win another championship against the Milwaukee Bucks, who haven't won a championship up to that moment, winning Game 7 and going 4-3 in the finals against them. John Havlicek would be the finals MVP. Tommy Heinsohn would win his first championship after becoming head coach of the Celtics. He previously won 8 titles as a player. Celtics greats Dave Cowens and JoJo White would also earn their first championship that year. Now, did you hear what I said about the 1974 team? Take exactly what I said along with the joke and apply it to the 1976 season. The only things that need to be changed are the names of the teams. The Celtics would beat the Phoenix Suns in a 4-2 game series. Game 5 would be the only finals game to go into triple overtime. Try as they would, Phoenix just simply could not beat the Celtics in 1974. Celtics would maintain the core of the previous team that won it all in 1974. The Celtics would win 3 times during the 1980s. Their first championship came in 1981, winning a 4-2 game series against the Houston Rockets. This championship team would have stars like Larry Bird, who just came off his rookie season, Robert Parrish, and Kevin McHale. In 1984, the Celtics would once again beat their rivals, the LA Lakers, into a 4-3 game series. Former player Casey Jones would be chosen by Red Auerbach to become head coach in 1984. Dennis Johnson would be traded to this team after being 1979 Finals MVP and Defensive Player of the Year for the previous year. This team would also feature Larry Bird, Cedric Maxwell, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, Derry Ainge, Gerald Henderson, and Scott Wedman. In 1985, the Celtics would lose their rematch to the Lakers, but in 1986, the Celtics would face the Houston Rockets in the finals again, which they would win the series 4-2. Cedric Maxwell would be traded to the Clippers for Bill Walton. The Celtics would maintain a nearly identical squad to their 1984 team. Now, it would be another 22 years before the Celtics would achieve championship glory once again. The Celtics would win in the 21st century for the first time in 2008, going 4-2 against the LA Lakers. This would follow a lackluster year for the Celtics, the second worst in franchise history actually. Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, and Kevin Garnett would be the big three that would make up the core of the Celtics roster. This team would break that almost more than 2-decade break in championships for the Celtics. As we referenced in the beginning of the video, the Celtics would beat the Dallas Mavericks 4-1 in the 2024 championship. This is of course their most recent championship, and then as of the writing of this video, they are reigning champs. This victory would give the Celtics the most titles in NBA history, edging out the LA Lakers by 1 championship. It would be Joe Mazzulla's first championship during his brief 2-season coaching tenure. Now, if you managed to listen to my overview of all the Celtics finals championships, thank you for giving this video your time and attention. In the future, I may cover other teams from the NBA and maybe other sports. And if you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like and subscribe.